Somebody once asked me to quickly say my facts. Threes! I said no sweat, I know threes by heart. You see, first up is 3 times 1, which is 3. That's an easy one.
So day 2 of our virtual journey. It should be finding you on this video for Tuesday, April 14th. And today we're going to continue on with multiplicative comparisons, but now you are going to be using them in different word problems. And you're also going to continue that word problem of the week with Samuel's pencils. If you haven't finished that up yet, you're going to want to start your activity and finish it up for today because you're going to have a new article tomorrow. You should be on for 30 minutes with your EPIC and AR, and then you're going to finish up with power writing day 2. So it'll be a new prompt and a new form, or you can write it on a piece of paper if that's how you've been doing it. So starting with the reading, your activity should be what is consuming your reading time today. It is question 1 through 9 or 1 through 8, depending on if you're accessing online. You still should have access to those notes right here. If you are on Google Classroom, it's really important that if you are using those, that you're going to open and make that copy when you go in and know that you can keep going back to that file and it will just keep updating throughout the week. It will have your Achieve article number 1 notes and number 2. So it's both those note forms are going to be in one form each week. So that first article is the last generation. And if and when you get your packet, you would see that you would have that activity and it has that cause and effect at the beginning and at the top. What am I going to do? What I am going to do for you right now is I'm going to go into Achieve and I'm actually going to read you the article that is in your packet. I have posted the packet on Google Classroom, and hopefully I can get that up for you here. And I know that some of us don't have access online, some of us don't have printers, there's an array of things that are going on this first week. I'm more trying to give you multiple options, and if one of them works, great for any of you, and if none of them do, then we're just going to make do until those packets are in your hands. That being said, I realized when I told you, your Achieve will read online. Well, Miss Princell, if you're giving this packet out, it's not going to read to you online. So at this point in the video, especially if you are doing this article online, you're going to want to skip forward and when I edit it, put the time that I'll start back up with the next assignment that you're going to want to listen into. But I'm going to read this article so that people who are trying to finish their activity today that don't have online access can do so. So let me begin. It says The Last Generation. Marshall Islands, November 7th, 2019. Living on an island might sound wonderful, but what if you left for a trip and found you could never return? What if your home and even the land it stood on was gone forever? For people living in the Pacific Islands, this is a real possibility. Why? Climate change. Climate change is causing the sea to rise, and it's threatening the very future of the Pacific Islands. Young people on the islands are even starting to wonder, will they be the last generation? Not if the islanders have anything to do about it. These people are deeply connected to their homelands. The Pacific Islands are made up of 11 different countries, the Marshall Islands, Fiji, Samoa, and others. But now the separate countries are banding together. They're joining forces to take on climate change. Why is climate change such a huge threat to this part of the world? Islands have low elevations, so they're among the first places affected by rising sea levels. That's why countries of the Pacific Islands are working together. They want to do their part to address climate change, but these are small nations. When it comes to climate change, can they make a big difference? They can. Here's why. Most of the things that people on islands buy are brought by ships. This is very harmful to the environment. After all, cargo ships put out almost 3% of the world's carbon emissions, and carbon emissions worsen climate change. Pacific Islanders recognize the problem. So in 2019, 6 countries get together: Fiji, the Marshall Islands, Samoa, Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, and Tuvalu. They came up with a plan. They pledged to cut carbon emissions from shipping by 40% by 2030. And by 2050, they expect 0 carbon shipping. How will they pull this off? They plan to use some really cool carbon-free technologies. They'll make use of solar and wind energy. Sea levels are rising, but hopes aren't sinking in the Pacific Islands. So if you see up here, there's a picture, and it says the capital city of Marshall Islands, is only 300 feet wide in most places, yet the thin strip of island is home to over 27,000 people. So, what does all this article have to do with? That was a turn. The title is saying the last generation, and what it took us in the direction of is kind of what we talked about in our benchmark lessons with carbon emissions and fossil fuels and all that type of stuff that's leading to climate change and pollution. And this island, if they're saying if they keep this up, their island isn't going to essentially be floating. They're going to go underwater. They're not going to be able to live on it. So the people who live there now are saying we could be the last generation. So now that you've read this article with me, you want to come down and you want to give a second to look at that dictionary, because it's going to give you words that are tricky and their definition. So elevation, that means the height of a place. So it told you that their elevation is not high enough, which is why they'll go underwater. So what it's saying is elevation means the height of a place. That means how tall, not a person is, but a place is. An elevation. So if you go up to the mountains, you might hear your parents say, oh, we're at 300 feet elevation, or we're at this high, or your ears start popping in the airplane when you're at a certain elevation, which means how high you are. Emissions. You've heard this word before, especially with our study and benchmark, and it means something sent out or given off. So emissions, when we're talking about pollution, is not something that is positive. It's that gas that you see coming out of the cars, or even those pictures that I showed you of some power plants and you see all the gas going into the sky. Typically, that's what you hear with emissions. It's something that's being sent out or given off, and typically with pollution, that's not a good thing. You don't want emissions going out because it's affecting and negatively impacting our oceans, our global warming, all of that type of stuff. And especially for this, the more emissions, the quicker these people think their land is going to go under. Lastly, it says generation, and they're saying that is a group of people born and living during the same time. So it said the last generation. So they're talking about a group of people that are born and living during this time. That means this time as in right now. Anybody who's in that generation, if you hear it, your grandparents are their own generation, your parents are in their kind of own generation, and then you and your siblings would be their own generation.
Multiply with ease. 3 times 6, that's 18. 3 times 7, 21. You see, 3 times 8, you're gonna know for sure. Count it up to see that it's 24. 27, 3 times 9. Remember, cause 2 plus 7 is 9. 3 times 10 is 30. Told you I could multiply by 3s. Hey now, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27, and 30. Gotta skip counting by 3s so that I can multiply with
I'm going to be doing our math lesson today similar to how it was done yesterday. Today's a little different because it's on word problems, so I really want to give you that base knowledge with our vocab slides and kind of set the tone, and then I'm going to move over to the dot cam and kind of present that way because it's much easier on paper to show you how I'm hoping you guys at home are really breaking down and doing the practices that we did in class with word problems, because they are challenging, they're supposed to be difficult, and you need to be using different strategies to get not only the right answer, but to understand what's really going on within them. So for today, I want you to see that right here, if you do have that PDF and that packet that I've posted on Google Classroom or sent to your parents directly, in your packet, you're going to be looking for this page. It's going to say word problems with complicative comparisons down here, really small, which it blacks out when I go down there, but it should say page 2. And up here in the corner, this is what you can look for to try to help you out to get there. Second is always the Google Classroom, the online access. If you click here, it will take you to Google Classroom. This link is the one that you want to take so that I can give you that feedback, that I can see your work and that I can comment back and kind of have a conversation with you about each of your assignments. For those who aren't in Google Classroom, they don't have a Gmail or they're not logged in here. As you can see, there's only 8 right now, which is just fine. You want to log in right here. If you're on a phone, you can click this link and you'll go straight to that form. Just like yesterday that I showed you, you're going to put your name at the top, answer the questions the best you can. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, just like this paper, because it doesn't matter if you're in the packet or you're online, it's the same assignment. And once you press submit, I will be able to get your work just the same. So that being said, let's get started. I want to review our vocabulary again. As I said, I know sitting at home watching a video, it's like, lady, we saw this yesterday, but you know, in class, it's what we do. The more we repeat it, the more we think about it, the more it's going to ingrain in our heads and it's going to stay there long term. So for today, we're going to review and say, our equation, your hand should be going up again, and you should get your second star of this virtual world, and know that an equation is the same as saying equivalent or equal. The technical term, of course, is all these words down here, and it says a math sentence that states two or more expressions are equivalent. They are joined by an equal sign. So again, if you do not have an equal sign, you do not have an equation. You need that equal sign for it to be an equation. Now, compare. Why do we worry about the word compare? Because we're dealing with comparisons. In comparisons, if you cross out the I-S-O-N-S, you're going to just add an E and you get compare. So we are dealing with that same word, and it's a synonym, and it means to find the similarity or the difference between items. So we're not going to be using those alligator inequality signs today. As I told you yesterday, that isn't what we're focused on right now, but that is one way that we've compared in the past. That is knowledge that should kind of activate when you're hearing compare. What we are going to be using is that equal sign and showing what is equivalent and not with multiplicative comparisons. Now, last one is product. Ding, 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 especially from yesterday and the work you did, product should go hand in hand with multiplication. It is an answer to a multiplication problem, not a division problem, not an addition, not a subtraction, but multiplication. Product and multiplication go hand in hand. Now, I know I said last, but this is the one I wanted to bring you together like I did yesterday. Multiplicative comparisons. It is a comparison of two quantities when one is a multiple of another. Like yesterday, I used your example of 7 times 5 is 35. We are looking at two quantities when one is a multiple of another. 7 is a multiple of 35, so it falls under a multiplicative comparison. Your job is to know that 7 how many times will get you 35, and we talked about it yesterday, and your facts in your head should kind of tell you 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. So 7 is a multiple, and you know that because 5 times when it's repeatedly added. Same in the other way, that's not just the only answer. As I showed you yesterday, there were 4 or 5 answers to each problem because of the way you can word it. This one is the same, that you are going to put that 35 is a multiple of 5, and you know that because you'll repeatedly add 7 different times. So just keep this in mind. I know it may seem repetitive, but you really want to make sure you have this understanding, because when we do multiple and factors in a week or two, you're going to remember and build on this knowledge. You're going to need this to go there. Now, for your strategy for your word problems, today I told you I'm going to be working out on paper, and why I'm choosing to do that is because as a 4th grade team during this virtual learning time, we kind of all brought together our version of 4 boxes, or what we have our students do to help us work through word problems, and we all agreed on giving out this form. What it is it's 6 boxes, and it asks you to put important numbers, what is the question, what is an equation, what is the answer, what is the model, and then your work. It's all the stuff that I know I have done in class with you guys, but now it's just kind of really clear and formatted, and my task to you guys is, no matter how hard the word problem, no matter, how defeated you feel looking at it and thinking there's no possible way I can pull this off, Miss Princell, I'm just going to wait until Zoom tomorrow. You need to come to that Zoom and be confident when you have these boxes filled in to the best of your ability. All right, I'm going to walk you through a sample problem today for the word problems with multiplicative comparisons. I am hoping that either you can watch this before you partake and try this activity with the 3 problems, or that if you're struggling, you can come back to this and get some help. I'm going to be using specifically the kind of format that's being added to your printed packet. So if you're not really sure where that's coming from, it is uploaded in the PDF. And then there is, of course, the one that I'm going to show you and walk you through using. Honestly, just pulling out a piece of paper, drawing 6 boxes will be more than enough for you to use this template. So don't feel like you need your parents to come and print it out for you. The problem that I'm going to try with you today says, in today's basketball game, Lily made 3 times the number of baskets that Sammy made. If Lily made 15 baskets, how many did Sammy make? What you should notice right away is that we are in multiplicative comparisons. We are using times, which should tell you multiplication. We are using we have a known number, and then we have times as many, and we have an unknown. And in that, we have our multiplicative comparison, and we got to figure out what's missing. That's where the word problem is going to come in, and you're not going to try to start throwing numbers together. You're going to look at that Miss Princell's face and that yellow light and know that you need to slow down, and you need to annotate this word problem way before you're going to start jumping in and solve it. So how are you going to do this? Well, format that I'm going to use and show you today is your problem solving sheet. This is the sheet I told you. You just need to make 6 boxes and you'll be on your way more than ready to solve this. So we're going to start. The first box, I zoomed in. If you look, it's the important numbers are. And if you see, there's 2 boxes there because there is 2 important numbers that are missing. Or not so missing, they are missing from that paper because Miss Princell went and solved it away on paper and took some pictures of it. It says, in today's basketball game, Lily made 3 times the number of baskets. You should stop and know 3 is a number, so that's an important number, but it's 3 what? You should see that it is Lily made 3 times. So it's not just a 3, it's 3 times. And you need to write that down and not be lazy with just putting a 3 in this box. You need to give it context, just as we do in reading, and know that it's 3 times baskets of Samantha or Sammy. Next, we have another number, and it says if Lily made 15 baskets, how many did Sammy make? So you want to come down and you see that Lily made 15 baskets. Again, you don't just want to write 15. You want to make sure that you're saying it's Lily and that she made 15 baskets. Now moving on to the next box, it says the question I am trying to solve. You're going to go back in and you're going to find that question word and underline in any way you can to kind of form what your question is that you're looking for. And it says, how many did Sammy make? And you are just going to copy that over. You're not restating just yet. It's genuinely just asking you, what is the question? So your first 2 boxes out of the 6 are complete. You're going to move down and you're going to try to figure out what your equation would be. And this would be the point that I would want you to pause and try on your own to solve and figure out what the equation could be with what you have from the first 2 boxes. The first thing you're going to write down is one of the important numbers, and you have 3 times, which that X does not mean X like a letter, it means multiplication. So you have 3 times, you're going to not know what you're multiplying yet, and then it equals something, and we need to figure out what's going to go in there and what makes the most sense for this. I drew an arrow for you to figure out that you do not know how many baskets did Sammy make. You have no idea. All that you know is that it's 3 times as many. And when you do 3 times that unknown number, you are going to get as many as 15 because that is how many Lily made. So when you look here, you know 15 is the number of baskets. You know Lily made 3 times some number, but we don't have that number yet. So we're just going to put in a question mark or unknown. That is what we are looking for. We are looking for the number that 3 times whatever it is 15. Then you're going to move on and you're going to try to figure out what the sentence to answer this question is. That is when you want to think of your restate strategy and looking back at your question from box number 2 that says, how many baskets did Sammy make? How can you reword that into a restate, into an answer form? So you want to pause here and try on your own and then be ready to see the answer. It says Sammy made blank baskets. And if you noticed, I used orange so that you understand that what we are looking for is that unknown number, the number of baskets. We do not know how many she made, and that is what we are trying to find. So last, down here, we have model and the math work. So down here, obviously underneath is my model, but I want you to try to make a model to represent 3 times some number equals 15. I want you to try to draw something, go back to that main problem that reads in today's basketball game, Lily made 3 times the number of baskets that Sammy made. If Lily made 15 baskets, how many did Sammy make? You want to go back and try to draw a picture to represent that. All right, I'm hoping you had some time to draw your own model. Please, please, please remember, your model does not need to match mine. My model is my own interpretation, so do not feel like you got to erase, you got to redo. This is completely your brain, your model, as long as you are representing and getting that correct answer in that orange box at the end, and you can understand how you got there. You know that that is all Miss Princell and yourself should expect from yourself. That is amazing work. So just know that before I hit next. So this is my attempt at a model. I thought basketball hoops, so I went with circles and I numbered them. So I got 15 of them first, and then I started going, okay, well, I know 3 times. So if multiplication, I kind of know when I'm doing multiplication, I can do those area models, I can do rays. So why don't I have 3 rows? That sounded nice. So I then started going, okay, fine, 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what divided by division? Because that's the inverse. Miss Princell is going there because she just, you know how she does this. And I then went back and said, okay, I know if I have 3 rows down, how many across am I going to need? I'm going to need 5. So then I tried it. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I went down to my next row 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Bingo, it worked. I have 3 times. And what's my number across? I had a question mark at first because I didn't know it yet. It was my unknown. But I realized, oh, I got 5 across. So I know 3 times what is 15? Well, 3 times 5 is going to get me that 15 number, and I know that with my multiplication facts. I know that now with my model, and now I need to go and prove it with my work. So I took my model that I originally had from my equation up above, so it's nothing, new that I need to cover up for you. Now I want you to say, what's that math work? And a lot of times we feel like we're done. We have that drawn model, and you see how I kind of boxed up here. If you look, I boxed up that 5, and I'm good and I'm on. But we've done so much work, guys. We've been working on this problem for many a minutes, and you want to take that time to really finish it off how you should. So I have that empty up top with Sammy made blank baskets that I need to work with, but I first need to get my work down, not just my model. 3 times something is 15. I want you to pause here. I want you to finish off that box confidently and then hit play when you are ready. All right. And my Bitmoji, of course, appears saying done good. And I got my answer. 3 times 5 equals 15. I can prove it with my model next to it. I can go all the way back up and find out that if it made sense back to even that first box with 3 times as many baskets as Sammy, and I made 15. 3 times Sammy made 5. 3 times 5. That worked. And it all makes sense. All 6 boxes are validated. They are true. And I can move on confidently knowing this word problem is now my friend, not my enemy. And we did this. So my hope is this process was one that you can walk through. And I want you to really try your hardest to really stick with that when you come back to, let me take you back to that slide so you guys know what I'm talking about. When you're working on these problems for today, I really, really, really hope that you guys are going to take that time and spend it, because there is only 3 problems. There isn't a bunch of problems at you. Yesterday you did 10. Today it's only 3, but they are problems that are going to take a second. And in this form that I just clicked on, and I'll show you where I got this from. I just clicked in here from the No Google Classroom link. I want my Google Classroom friends, which have been doing an amazing job, to come in here, and those 8 assigned right now, I'm hoping that number just keeps going up, and you go in and do it there so I can give you that feedback. And then my packet friends, if you have printed it at home or have an empty sheet of paper, you are always welcome. Please, please, please keep those brains on and just write down those problems the best you can by zooming in or screenshotting. Whatever works truly is all that I'm really wanting here. But anyways, with these forms, I want you to see it only says your answer. There is no one, honestly, and I have no ability to go around and check that you are doing all 6 boxes. But my hope in taking the time in that video is to show you that the process gets you there, A, and B, by the end of that process, you are confident. I am sure that it is 5. I don't have a question, and I can move on to my next problems without going back and going, oh, that word problem, I think my model was right. No, when you go through all 6 steps, you can sit there, you can be confident, and I really hope that you're going to take that time. You can watch that video again as you go through the
3
steps.
times 10 is 30. Told you I could multiply by 3s. Hey now, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27, and 30. Gotta keep, skip, counting by 3.
All right, friends, I want to make sure that we still go over this second task that's going to be on there that says problem of the week, and it's the same problem of the week from yesterday. And I know I kind of told you my tentative, or like in my head, the schedule that I'm looking at, especially to kind of go over in Zoom, is that I'm going to go over that first box that says show your work today. I'm recording this on Monday, but I'm going to go over that on Tuesday. I'm going to go over the answer on this sheet with you guys on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I'm going to go through the explanation. So my idea and hope for today, for Tuesday's work, is that you're going to be hitting, now that you've finished your showed your work, you're going to now move on to the answer and have an answer in there. And for the forms and the Google Classroom friends, you're still going to log back in and do that same model and upload. And if you've already completed the problem of the week, amazing. I know we had a lot of word problems today from the previous activity, so just hold tight and be proud of that. And I would suggest that you go on Imagine Math or any of those online programs. If you don't have access to a device, you want to take out some multiplication, do some random numbers together, two-digit division, any of those things that you know that Miss Princell would throw your way, just keep your brains active to the best of your ability is the best thing we can do right now. So that being said, I would hit in that answer so we can go over it together tomorrow during the Zoom class, and click on, even if you don't have Google Classroom, please, because I do get it the minute you put submit. Now, this is the models that I'm going to keep in these slides because I want you to be able to have access to them. This is that template that we used today in that 3-question quick check activity. And I wanted to remind you, because you don't have the wall up in the classroom like we normally do, of just some strategies that if you're stuck and you feel like there's nowhere to go, that you had some slide to come to, and this would be that slide to just kind of ground yourself, to remember, I might not know the answer. I might not be at the bottom down here and have everything, but you know what? I can read, I can consider, I can plan. You have some abilities, all of you do, and just try your very best. I know it's hard from a virtual sense and far away from me and the questions that you can
Because
ask.
2 plus 7 is 9. 3 times 10 is 30. Told you I could multiply by 3s. Hey now, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18.
Final task for the day is the power writing, and it's power writing number 2. I cannot tell you how funny your responses were to the lions. I got people running away from the zoo, which honestly didn't even think of that. I had people that were mad that people were interrupting their nap schedule, which I think is very valid, especially nowadays when we're at home all hours, that you can actually take a mid-afternoon nap if you finish all your work, of course, right? The responses I am enjoying greatly, and I can only imagine. Now we're on number 2, and the prompt for today is, imagine you woke up and saw a dinosaur in your backyard. Write a story telling what you see and do. So Please, please, please keep having fun with those. Please push yourself on the amount that you are writing. I know your totals are a little less typing for a lot of people because it's typing, and that is the challenge and also kind of what I'm hoping this time, even though it's, we're in this virtual world. Why don't we get a skill and you guys can get quick and not look at Miss Princell like she's so crazy with how quick she types. You can be just as fast by the end of this. So don't be so hard on yourself if the typing is what is kind of really difficult with that set timer. Be fair. If you want to add more and that it said 3 minutes, but I want 4 or 5, be open with yourself and just be true to you. And the idea is that you're seeing growth over time. So if you want to move that thing to 5 because typing is holding you back, do it. If you want to move to paper, do it. It's up to you and completely open to that. So even my online Google Classroom friends, if you want to just take out a journal, please do. And please share with me if you want to send it over. I'd love to read them, even if they're on paper.
3 times 9, remember, cause 2 plus 7 is 9. 3 times 10 is 30. Told you I could multiply by 3s. Hey now, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27, and 30. Gotta skip counting by 3s so that I can multiply with